They say the loudest wolves are the strongest. But that is a lie. Sometimes the wolves who howl the loudest about your worthlessness are the ones who fear what you might become if you ever discovered your true power. But Alara didn't feel feared. She felt erased. The morning mist clung to the Iron Fang pack grounds like a burial shroud. And Alara wondered, as she did every morning, if today would finally be the day they killed her. Not with claws or fangs that would be too merciful for an Omega who couldn't even shift properly. No. The Iron Fang pack preferred the slow death of 1,000 humiliations. Each small cruelty was designed to remind her that she was nothing more than a mistake the moon goddess had cursed them with. Alara pressed herself against the cold stone wall of the pack house kitchen, counting her breaths as she waited for the breakfast crowd to thin. 3 years had passed since her 18th birthday. 3 years since the night that should have brought her wolf, but instead brought only scorching pain and failure, while others her age ran freely through the forest, their wolves magnificent and proud. Alara remained trapped between forms, neither fully human nor completely wolf, still hiding in shadows. Her bones ached with a constant, grinding pressure, a physical reminder of the beast locked inside her, scratching at the door but never breaking through. Little mouse. The voice made her stomach clench. Vex, the pack's newest enforcer, blocked the doorway with his broad frame. At 25, he'd already earned a reputation for his cruelty toward the weak. His particular fascination with tormenting Alara had become something of a sport among the younger wolves. I'm working. Alara lied, gesturing to the stack of dishes she'd been assigned. Early morning kitchen duty was one of the few tasks where she could avoid most of the pack, or so she'd thought. Vex stepped closer, his heavy boots tracking mud across the floor she'd just cleaned. Working, he repeated, mockery dripping from the word. Is that what we're calling it when the pack's broken Omega plays at being useful? Behind him, another wolf appeared. Lila. Her perfectly manicured nails clicked against the doorframe as she smiled, the expression never reaching her ice-blue eyes. Did you hear? Lila purred, addressing Vex but keeping her gaze fixed on Alara. Father says the Alpha King's convoy will pass through our territory next week. Every unmated wolf of age will be presented. She paused, her smile widening. Well, every proper wolf. The words hit their intended mark. Alara's hands stilled on the dish she was washing, soap suds sliding down her wrists. Alpha Kalen of the Obsidian North. They called him the youngest wolf to ever unite the Northern Territories. Rumors said he was so powerful that even alphas bowed in his presence. They said he could shift into a wolf larger than any seen in generations, and that his howl could shake mountains. He had never lost a challenge. Imagine, Vex added, his voice thick with false sympathy, having to explain to the Alpha King why our pack harbors a defective Omega. Father is already arranging to have her confined to the cellar during the visit. Can't have royalty thinking we're weak. Alara's grandmother had once told her that the strongest steel was forged in the hottest flames. But Alara didn't feel strong. She felt brittle, like glass that had been heated and cooled too many times, ready to shatter at the slightest pressure. Nothing to say. Mousevex moved closer, close enough that she could smell the breakfast meat on his breath. Or are you dreaming of meeting the Alpha King? Perhaps you think he'll take pity on the pack's broken toy. Please, Alara whispered, hating how small her voice sounded. I have work to finish. Work. Vex grabbed the plate from her hands, holding it up to examine it with exaggerated scrutiny. You missed a spot. He opened his fingers. The plate fell. It shattered against the stone floor, ceramic shards scattering across the kitchen. The sound echoed through the morning quiet like an accusation. Clumsy Omega, Lila tutted. Now you'll have to explain to the head cook why you're breaking the pack's property again. They left her there, kneeling among the broken pieces, their laughter echoing down the corridor. Alara's hands trembled as she gathered the shards, a jagged piece slicing her palm. She watched the blood well up, bright red against her pale skin. Even her blood looked wrong to her, too bright, too thin. lacking the darker richness of a proper wolf's child. The voice startled her. Elder Serafina stood in the doorway, her ancient eyes taking in the scene with a knowing that made Alara want to weep. Her grandmother moved with surprising grace for someone who claimed to be over 90. Though she'd never been specific about her age. "Let me see," Serafina said, taking Alara's bleeding hand in her weathered ones. She produced a cloth from her pocket. She always seemed to have exactly what was needed and wrapped the wound with practiced efficiency. "It wasn't my fault," Alara began. But her grandmother silenced her with a look. "Fault is a luxury we cannot afford," Serafina said quietly. "The Alpha King comes not next week." "But tonight," Alara's heart stopped. "Tonight," but Lila said. "The twins know nothing," Serafina corrected. "Your father received word this morning. The king travels in secret, seeking something that was lost long ago." Her grandmother's eyes grew distant, as if seeing something beyond the kitchen walls. Sometimes what appears to be a curse is actually a gift waiting to be unwrapped. A gift. Alara couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. "I'm 21 years old. Grandmother. I can't shift properly. I can't link with the pack. I can't even defend myself from bullies." "What kind of gift is that?" Serafina cupped Alara's face in her hands. For a moment, Alara could have sworn she saw something flash in her grandmother's eyes, a glimmer of gold that shouldn't exist in a wolf too old to shift, the kind that requires the right moment to reveal itself. Serafina said, "Your mother understood this before she passed." Alara's throat tightened. Her mother had died when Alara was 15. Just 3 years before her failed first shift. The pack whispered that she died of shame, knowing somehow that her daughter would be defective. But Serafina had always insisted there was more to the story. "Now," her grandmother continued, releasing her face, "your father has ordered all unmated wolves to prepare for presentation." "Yes. Even you. But why? They're going to hide me anyway. Your father is many things. But he is not stupid," Serafina replied. "Hiding an Omega from the Alpha King would be seen as deception. Better to present you briefly and hope the king pays you no attention." Serafina pulled something from her pocket, a small vial filled with silvery liquid. "Drink this tonight before the presentation." "What is it?" Alara asked. "Something to calm your nerves." Serafina lied smoothly. "The last thing we need is for you to have one of your episodes in front of royalty." The episodes. That's what they called it when Alara's body tried to shift, but couldn't complete the transformation. The agony of bones breaking and reforming wrong. Of being trapped between forms. Neither human nor wolf. It had happened publicly only once at a pack gathering. And the horror on everyone's faces still haunted her dreams. Alara took the vial. The glass cool against her palm. "Grandmother. Did you know my mother's wolf? What was she like?" Serafina's expression softened. "Your mother's wolf was unique. Silver as moonlight. With eyes like stars." She trailed off. Lost in memory. She could run for days without tiring. And her howl could make the strongest alpha weep with its beauty. "Then why couldn't she pass that strength to me?" Alara whispered. "Who says she didn't?" Serafina turned to leave. Then paused. "Wear the blue dress tonight. The one your mother left you. That old thing. It's practically falling apart." Alara argued. "Wear it," her grandmother commanded, her tone brooking no argument. "And Alara, remember that destiny doesn't make mistakes. It only creates mysteries waiting to be solved." Alone again in the kitchen, Alara cleaned the broken plate, her mind spinning. The Alpha King here. Tonight. Every unmated wolf lined up like cattle for his inspection. The thought made her stomach turn. She'd heard stories of his power, his ruthlessness in battle, his lack of patience for weakness, and she was weakness personified. As the day wore on, the pack house transformed into a frenzy of preparation. Alara watched from the shadows as unmated females primped and preened, their excitement palpable. They gossiped about the king, how he had refused every match for 5 years, how perhaps he was waiting for a fated mate, though most scoffed that fated mates were just fairy tales. That evening, standing before the cracked mirror in her tiny room beneath the stairs. Alara put on the blue dress. It felt like wearing moonlight against her skin. Its fabric somehow cool and warm at once. It had been stored in a wooden box beneath her bed for years, wrapped in tissue paper that smelled of lavender and something else, something wild and ancient that made her wolf stir restlessly beneath her skin. Alara. Her father's voice boomed through the floor above. The presentation begins in an hour. Do not embarrass us more than you already have by being late. Alara swallowed the contents of her grandmother's vial in one quick motion. The liquid tasted of mint and something metallic, coating her throat with an odd tingling sensation. Almost immediately, she felt her wolf settle, the constant anxious pacing in her mind quieting to a gentle hum. When she arrived at the gathering hall, Beta Garrett was already barking orders. Form ranks alphas and betas in the front, deltas and gammas in the middle, omegas in the back. Alara took her place at the very back, the only omega present. Beside her, a girl from a neighboring pack glanced over with barely concealed disgust. They let you attend. I heard this pack had a broken omega, but I thought surely they'd have the sense to silence it. Before Alara could respond, the beta roared. The Alpha King approaches. The massive oak doors swung open, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Power rolled in like a physical force, pressing against Alara's skin, making her wolf whimper and try to curl smaller around her. Wolves began dropping to their knees, unable to withstand the sheer dominance radiating from the doorway. But Alara remained standing, not out of defiance, but because her body had locked completely, every muscle frozen as something deep within her recognized. Something. Alpha Kalen entered the hall. He was everything the stories claimed, and nothing like she'd imagined. Taller than any wolf she'd seen, moving with a predator's grace. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart silver like liquid mercury, holding secrets and power that shouldn't exist in the mortal realm. Those eyes swept across the gathered wolves with dismissive efficiency, cataloging and dismissing, searching for something, and then they stopped on her. The world narrowed to that singular moment of connection. Alara felt as if someone had reached into her chest and grabbed her heart. Her wolf, usually so quiet and weak, suddenly surged forward with a violence that stole her breath. Mine. It whispered, or maybe screamed. Mine. 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 The great oak doors of the gathering hall swung open, and the temperature in the room plummeted. It wasn't a draft. It was him. Power rolled into the hall like a physical force, a tidal wave of dominance that pressed against Alara's skin and made the air thick enough to choke on. Around her, the strongest wolves in the territory, warriors, who had boasted of their courage only moments ago, began to drop. They fell to their knees, their heads bowed, unable to withstand the crushing weight of the aura radiating from the doorway. But Alara remained standing, not because she was brave, but because her body had locked up. Every muscle froze as something deep within her marrow recognized the predator stepping out of the shadows. Alpha Kalen of the Obsidian North. He was everything the terrified whispers claimed he was. He moved with a lethal, liquid grace that made every other wolf in the room look clumsy. His hair was black as a moonless night, but it was his eyes that stopped Alara's heart. They were silver, liquid mercury, ancient and terrifying, holding secrets that shouldn't exist in the mortal realm. Those silver eyes swept across the room with terrifying efficiency. He looked at the rows of unmated females who had spent hours preening for this moment, the Alpha's daughters, the high-ranking heirs in their silks and jewels. He looked at them, cataloged them, and dismissed them in a heartbeat. He was searching for something, and then his gaze stopped. It stopped on the back of the room, on the shadows, on her. The world narrowed down to a single, razor-sharp point. Alara felt a phantom hand reach into her chest and squeeze her heart until she couldn't breathe. And her wolf, the pathetic, the broken thing that had been silent and weak for 3 years, it woke up. It didn't just wake. It surged forward with a violence that made Alara gasp. It threw itself against the cage of her ribs, screaming one word over and over again. drowning out the roaring in her ears. Mine. 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 Kaelin took a step toward her. Then another. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Wolves scrambling to get out of his path without daring to lift their heads. Your Majesty, the voice broke the trance. It was her father. Alpha Baron. He stepped forward, bowing low, sweat beading on his forehead. We are honored by your presence. May I present our unmated wolves for your consideration? We have arranged our strongest females in the front. Who is that? Kaelin's voice was deeper than thunder, soft as silk, and it slithered down Alara's spine like a physical caress. He hadn't looked away from her. He hadn't even acknowledged Baron's greeting. Baron blinked, confused, and followed the king's gaze to the shadows. His face went pale. Oh, Baron stammered, his lip curling in a reflex of disgust. That is no one of consequence. Your Majesty, an Omega with a malformed wolf. A mistake. Her name, Kaelin said. It wasn't a question. It was a command that vibrated in the floorboards. Elara, Baron said, panic creeping into his voice. But I assure you, she is not suitable for. Kaelin moved. One moment, he was 10 feet away. The next, he was standing inches from Elara. He was so close she could feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the scent of pine and winter storms that clung to his skin. Your wolf, he murmured. The words meant only for her. Show me. The blood drained from Elara's face. I wear for mind. I can't. She can't. Your Majesty, Baron interrupted again, stepping between them, desperate to salvage his pack's reputation. She is defective. Her wolf is malformed. It would be an insult to ask you to witness such a broken thing. The air in the room vanished. Kaelin didn't shout. He moved faster than thought. 1 second Baron was speaking. The next, he was on his knees, gasping for air. Kaelin's hand clamped around his throat. Did I ask for your opinion? Kaelin asked. His voice had gone deadly soft. The pack's enforcers growled instinctively, but none dared to move. To challenge the Alpha King was suicide. Elara watched her father, the man who had let Vex torment her. The man who called her a broken toy, turn purple as he clawed uselessly at Kaelin's wrist. Please, Elara whispered, the word tearing out of her throat. Please don't hurt him. Kaelin froze. He turned those mercury eyes back to her. Slowly, deliberately, he released Baron, who collapsed backward. Wheezing, You beg for a man who calls you defective? Kaelin asked, tilting his head with predatory interest. He's my father, Elara said weakly. Kaelin straightened, looking down at Baron with absolute contempt. Biology doesn't make family, he said. He turned his back on the Alpha. He looked at Elara, and his hand lifted. She flinched, expecting a blow. Instead, his fingers ghosted across her cheek, barely a whisper of a touch. But it sent a jolt of electricity racing through her veins that nearly buckled her knees. I require a private audience with the Omega, Kaelin announced to the silent room. Gasps echoed through the hall. An Alpha King requesting a private audience with a defective Omega was unthinkable. It was practically a declaration of intent. But the feast. Beta Garrett tried to interject. Now. Kaelin cut him off. He looked at Baron, his eyes dark as storm clouds. The Blue Moon Chamber. It's your finest. Is it not? Yes, Baron stammered. Show me, Kaelin commanded Elara. Elara walked through the corridors of the Citadel like a ghost, leading the most dangerous creature in the world past portraits of ancestors who would have rolled in their graves to see a scrubber girl guiding a king. The Blue Moon Chamber was beautiful, a room lined with silver and moonstone that caught the light like captured stars. Elara had only been inside once, years ago, when her mother was still alive. Now, the door clicked shut behind her with a sound that felt terrifyingly final. Kaelin didn't move toward her. He walked to the window, staring out at the rising moon. You're afraid of me, he observed. Everyone is afraid of you, Elara replied. the words slipping out before she could stop them. He turned, a faint smile touching his lips. True. But your fear is different. You're not afraid I'll kill you. You're afraid I'll see you. I don't know what you mean. She lied. Liar. He murmured. Do you know why I'm really here? Elara, the official story is a territory inspection, she said, her back pressing against the wall as he moved closer. But grandmother says you're looking for something lost. Kalen stopped. His eyes narrowed. Your grandmother. Serafina. She still lives. You know her. I know of her. Kalen said. He was studying her now, peeling back the layers of her defense with that intense silver gaze. Does she still brew those interesting potions, smelling of moonmint and silver sage? Elara's hand flew instinctively to her stomach, where the vial's contents were currently churning, a suppression draft. Kalen guessed, his voice dropping an octave, strong enough to keep even the most violent wolf subdued. The question is, why would a defective Omega need a suppressor? He took another step. Unless your wolf isn't malformed at all. Unless it's just fighting something. You're wrong. Elara whispered. My wolf is broken. Everyone knows. Everyone knows what they've been told. Kalen countered. He was close now. Too close. She could see flecks of gold in his silver irises. But I've learned never to trust what everyone knows. May I? Before she could ask what he meant, his hand reached out. He didn't grab her. He placed his fingers lightly against the side of her neck, right over her pulse point. The contact was absolute. It shattered the potion in her veins like a hammer hitting glass, ice and lightning. The sensation crashed through her. Her wolf, which had been pacing anxiously, suddenly slammed against the barrier of her skin with unprecedented violence. Elara gasped, her spine arching, her head falling back. Kalen jerked his hand back as if he'd been burned, his eyes wide with shock. Impossible, he breathed. What? Elara panted, clutching her chest. What did you do? Nothing, Kalen said, but he looked shaken. He ran a hand through his hair, a human gesture of agitation that looked strange on a warlord. Your wolf. When did it first manifest? My 18th birthday, she managed to say, but it went wrong. I couldn't complete the shift. The healers said it was malformed, and the pain, Kalen asked softly, excruciating. She whispered, like being torn apart from the inside. Kalen looked at her with a mixture of fury and sorrow that she didn't understand. What if I told you that wasn't weakness? What if I told you your wolf wasn't malformed, but suppressed? Who would do that? Your mother, Kalen said. Tell me about her. She died when I was 15, Elara said. She was from the Eastern Territories. She was nobody. She was not nobody, Kalen corrected. She was the last of the celestial bloodline. The moon blessed. The words hung in the air, heavy and strange, a bloodline so powerful that the ancient packs feared them. Kalen continued, his voice intense. Wolves who could command the moon itself. Wolves who were hunted to extinction. That's a fairy tale, Elara argued, her heart racing. Like the fairy tale of the Alpha King who can't find his mate. Kalen stepped into her space again. He caged her against the wall, his hands bracing on either side of her head, or like the fairy tale of a broken Omega. He whispered, his breath warm against her ear. Whose very presence makes my wolf want to submit. Elara stopped breathing. Your wolf doesn't submit to anyone. It does to yours, Kalen admitted, the vulnerability in his voice terrifying. From the moment I walked into that hall, my wolf has been clawing at me, demanding I claim you, protect you, worship you. He looked deep into her eyes, stripping away the lies she had lived with for 3 years. Your mother bound your wolf to save your life. Elara, he said. She hid you in plain sight. She made you look broken so no one would look twice at the weapon she was hiding. I'm not a weapon. She shook her head. I'm a scrubber girl. You are a treasure. Kalen corrected fiercely. and I have been searching for you for 5 years. The dining hall of the Iron Fang pack had never seen an Omega at the high table. The weight of 100 stares pressed against Alara's skin like a physical touch. She sat rigid in the chair. Wearing a deep green gown, Kaylin had insisted she wear a garment that fit too perfectly. Feeling like armor and a target both, beside her, Alpha Kaylin was a looming storm cloud. He hadn't spoken since the meal began, but his proximity was doing things to her wolf that the suppression potion was struggling to contain. Every time he moved, every time he breathed, her entire body reacted as if pulled by invisible strings. Across the table, Lila watched them. Her smile was sharp. A blade dipped in honey. How fascinating that your majesty has taken such an interest in our Omega. Lila purred, cutting through the tension. Alara has always been special to our pack. The lie was so blatant, Alara nearly choked on her water. Kaylin lifted his wine glass, examining the dark liquid as if it held secrets. Special, he repeated, his tone giving nothing away. Tell me more about how special she is. Lila's smile flickered. Well, she's unique. The only Omega who can't shift properly. It's quite remarkable. Medically speaking. I see, Kaylin said softly. And you've been kind to her. I assume as packmates should be. Of course, Lila said, her voice pitching slightly higher. We're all family here. Family. Kaylin mused. He set the glass down. The sound was quiet, but it echoed like a gunshot. Like this morning, when you and your brother Vex watched him break a plate and blame her for it. The blood drained from Lila's face. Conversations around the room died instantly. Or, last week, Kaylin continued conversationally, when you poured wolfsbane extract in her wash water, hoping to see if it would burn her skin, Lila gasped. How could you possibly know that? Kaylin's silver eyes flashed dangerously. My scouts arrived days before me. Watching. Reporting. Did you think visiting royalty wouldn't investigate a pack before arriving? His gaze swept the table. Cold and terrifying. I know about every slight, every cruelty, every pathetic display of dominance you've inflicted on someone you deemed weaker than yourselves. Alpha Baron stood up, his face purple with rage. Your Majesty, surely these are internal pack matters. Sit down, Kaylin commanded. It wasn't a shout. It was pure alpha authority. Baron dropped into his chair as if his strings had been cut. Kaylin stood abruptly, extending his hand to Alara. Walk with me. It wasn't a request. Alara placed her trembling hand in his, gasping at the spark that jumped between their skin. They walked out of the hall in absolute silence, leaving the wreckage of the Iron Fang hierarchy behind them. The garden was bathed in silver light. The air was cool, but Alara felt feverish. The moment they were alone, she pulled her hand away. You've made everything worse, she whispered, her voice shaking. They already hated me. Now they'll donor. They'll do nothing, Kaylin said, his voice hard. Because you're leaving with me. Alara stopped. What? You're coming to the Obsidian Citadel, he said, turning to face her. Tonight, I can't just leave. This is my pack. My family. The family that calls you defective. Kaylin stepped closer, his anger vibrating in the air. The pack that tortures you daily. They don't deserve you. Why? Alara asked, stepping back until her spine hit the rough bark of an ancient oak tree. Why do you care what happens to a broken Omega? You're not broken, Kaylin growled, his control slipping. And you know why. He moved into her space, bracing his hands against the tree on either side of her head, caging her in. Don't lie to me. Alara, you feel it too. This pull. Your wolf recognizes mine. That's impossible. She breathed. I'm nobody. You're the Alpha King. You are my mate, he said. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Alara's wolf howled in triumph inside her mind, throwing itself against the chemical cage of the potion with renewed vigor. No, she whispered. The universe wouldn't pair you with someone who can't even shift. Your wolf. He's an apex predator. He wouldn't want this. Kalen leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. My wolf. He let out a harsh, breathless laugh. Alara. From the moment I walked into that hall, my wolf hasn't just wanted you. He has been clawing at me, demanding I submit to you. Submit. The word didn't make sense coming from him. I claim you. Protect you. Worship you. He whispered. That is what he screams. The admission was the key. The heat flooded through Alara's body. The suppression potion, the calming draft her grandmother had given her, finally catastrophically failed. The transformation hit her like a lightning strike. One moment, she stood pressed against the tree. The next, she was on her knees, screaming as her bones began to break and reshape. But this time was different. Instead of the usual agony of being stuck, of being wrong, her body seemed to know exactly what it wanted to become. Don't fight it. Kalen's voice anchored her. Let your wolf free. I can't, she cried. You can, he promised. Alara let go. The scream dissolved into a howl as her spine elongated. Fur erupted across her skin, but it wasn't fur. It was something else. Something that caught the moonlight and reflected it back tenfold. She expanded. She grew. The pain vanished, replaced by a rush of power so intoxicating she felt she could swallow the stars. When she opened her eyes, her vision was razor sharp. She saw colors she'd never seen before. She looked down at herself. She was massive, larger than any alpha. Her fur was crystalline, shimmering with a bioluminescent glow, like white diamonds holding the moon within each strand. When she moved her paw, she left a faint silver print on the grass that glowed before fading. She wasn't a wolf. She was a celestial event. She looked at Kalen. He had shifted too, a massive, midnight black wolf with eyes of silver fire. But he wasn't standing over her. The warlord king of the north was on his belly before her, his neck exposed in ultimate surrender. Beautiful. His voice echoed in her mind. My beautiful, impossible mate. Alara threw her head back and howled. It wasn't a normal sound. It was music and moonlight, sorrow and rage, power and pain, all woven together. The sound wave hit the citadel. Windows in the pack house shattered instantly. The ground shook. In the distance, the doors of the great hall burst open. Alpha, Baron, Vex, Lila, and the rest of the pack spilled out into the garden, weapons drawn, ready to fight whatever monster had made that sound. They froze. They saw the midnight wolf, their terrifying king, bowed low, and towering over him, they saw the creature of light. One by one, the Iron Fang wolves dropped. They didn't choose to. Their instincts gave them no other option. They dropped to their bellies, whining in terror, submitting to a power they didn't understand. Alara looked at them. She saw Vex, trembling. She saw Lila, pressing her face into the dirt. She saw her father, pale as a corpse. You see me now, she thought, slowly. The light faded. Alara shifted back. The transformation left her human form vulnerable. But Kalen was there in an instant, shifting and wrapping his heavy jacket around her shoulders before anyone could see. Alara stood in the center of the garden, the jacket swallowing her small frame, her hair wild and silver in the wind. She looked at her father, who was staring at her as if she were a ghost. What sorcery is this, Baron? Gasped, his voice trembling. Not sorcery, Kalen answered, his arm around Alara's waist, holding her up. Heritage. You can't just take a pack member. Baron protested weakly. The laws. Alara stepped forward. She didn't need Kalen to speak for her. Not anymore. I renounce my ties to the Iron Fang pack, she declared. Her voice was raspy from the howl, but it carried to every corner of the garden. I reject the pack that rejected me. She looked at Kalen, meeting his silver eyes. I choose the Obsidian King, she said. I choose my mate. The formal words of renunciation hung in the air. The bond snapped into place. Solid and unbreakable. Gather your things, Kaelin whispered to her, his pride radiating like heat. We leave within the hour. The journey to Kaelin's territory took 3 days through mountain passes that whispered with the wind of the north. When they finally crested the ridge, Alara saw it. The obsidian citadel. It wasn't just a fortress. It was a city carved from the living mountains themselves. Towers of black stone rose into the sky, connected by bridges that sparkled with embedded gems, while waterfalls cascaded between the buildings, their mist creating permanent rainbows in the cold air. Welcome home, Kaelin said softly, the word resonating in her bones in a way her old pack never had. As they descended into the valley, the wolves of the Obsidian pack came out to watch. There was no fear in their eyes, only curiosity and respect. As Kaelin's convoy passed, they lowered their heads. Alara realized with a start that they weren't just bowing to their king, they were bowing to her. Don't be nervous, Kaelin murmured, sensing the tension radiating off her. They aren't strangers. They are your pack now. When Alara stepped out of the vehicle in the main courtyard, a hush fell over the hundreds of gathered wolves. Then, as one, they dropped to one knee. It was a reception fit for a goddess. Not a girl who had spent the last 3 years scrubbing floors, but peace was a luxury Alara couldn't afford yet. That very night, in the high tower overlooking the waterfalls, Elder Seraphina revealed the truth behind the history she had kept hidden. The prophecy is longer than the version everyone whispers, Seraphina explained, her voice grave. It speaks of a void alpha, an ancient entity that eats souls and consumes the essence of wolves to gain power. A legend, Kaelin dismissed, pacing the room. A story to frighten pups. A reality, Seraphina countered. 3 packs in the Eastern Territories have gone silent in the last year. Not conquered. Not absorbed, just gone. Vanished without a trace, leaving only shadows burned into the ground. The Void Alpha was waking up. It hungered for the light of the Celestials. And Alara's awakening had rung a bell that could be heard across the continent. But Alara wasn't the only one who heard the bell. Later that night, standing on the balcony, Alara heard a whisper on the wind. Sister, we see you. It wasn't a ghost. It was a call. They arrived over the next few days. They came from the mountains, from the deserts, from the sea. Other wolves, hidden lineages, the sisters of starlight. One by one, they revealed themselves. There was Nyx, whose wolf form looked like the night sky, and Solara, whose fur shone like the dawn. They had been hiding in plain sight, suppressed by their families just as Alara had been, waiting for a signal that it was safe to rise. We wake because you wake, Nyx told her. The prophecy begins. And we answer. But the old world would not let the new world rise without a fight. The Council of Alphas, terrified by the sudden shift in power, summoned Alara to the neutral grounds. They invoked the ancient accords, demanding she be verified or declared a rogue. If they declare you rogue, Seraphina warned, any wolf can legally hunt you. Then we go, Alara said, her voice steel. Let them look into the eyes of the last moon blessed and see their own judgment reflected back. The council gathered in an ancient amphitheater of white stone. 7 alphas sat on high thrones, led by Alpha Marcus, a man whose greed was rivaled only by his fear. You are not an alpha, Marcus sneered, looking down at Alara. The accords state that only alphas may hold power. You are a genetic anomaly, a rogue. The accords also state that a moon blessed holds equal rank to any alpha. Seraphina interrupted, producing an ancient scroll. That law was struck illegally 300 years ago. I challenge you, Alara announced, stepping into the center of the ring. For your seat. Unless you are afraid to face an Omega. The insult landed perfectly. Marcus turned purple with rage. I accept. The circle cleared. Marcus shifted immediately. his wolf massive and scarred. A beast built for war. Alara remained in her human form. Standing calm and still. Shift. Omega Marcus roared. Fight me. He lunged. It was a killing blow. Fast and brutal. But Alara didn't dodge. At the last second, her body became translucent. Marcus passed right through her, crashing into the stone wall behind her. How? He gasped. Stumbling. Moon blessed can phase when the moon is strong. Seraphina explained to the stunned crowd. Marcus spun and attacked again, snapping his jaws at empty air as Alara danced around him. She was like smoke, like a moonbeam impossible to catch, impossible to hold. I am fighting, Marcus, she said calmly. I'm just not fighting like you. She stopped dancing. She walked up to the massive, heaving wolf. Yield, she commanded, or I will show everyone here the truth of who you really are. Lies, Marcus snarled. Preparing to strike, Alara didn't flinch. She placed one hand gently on his massive head. The moon-blessed gift isn't just power, Marcus. It's revelation, she pushed. Images flooded the minds of everyone in the amphitheater. Not her memories, but his. Every bribe, every murder, every stolen territory. Every cruelty he had hidden in the dark was suddenly laid bare for the entire council to see. Marcus screamed. It wasn't physical pain. It was the agony of being seen. I yield, he shrieked, scrambling away from her touch. I yield, I resign. Alara stood victorious. The council silenced. But the victory was short-lived. It comes. Nyx whispered, her eyes rolling back in a trance. The Void Alpha. It's here. The sky didn't turn black. The light was simply eaten. A darkness that felt thick and wrong swept over the horizon. And with it came the army. 10,000 hollowed ones wolves that were no longer wolves. But empty shells animated by shadow crashed into the valley. We have 3,000 warriors. Kaelin shouted over the roar of the wind. We have 12 celestials. Alara countered. And the moon is full tonight. The battle was a nightmare. The hollowed ones didn't feel pain. For every one the obsidian warriors cut down, 2 more took its place. The Void Alpha. A writhing mass of shadow in the shape of a wolf. Cut through the battlefield. Heading straight for Alara. You shine so bright. The creature hissed, its voice slithering into her mind. So much light to consume. Kaelin intercepted it. His midnight black wolf collided with the entity. A clash of shadow against void. You'll have to go through me, Kaelin, snarled. But the Void Alpha was ancient and fed on death. It was too strong. With a casual flick of its power, it threw Kaelin aside. He hit the stone wall of the amphitheater with a sickening crunch and didn't rise. Kaelin Alara screamed. She was alone. The Void Alpha loomed over her. A black hole opening its maw. I will consume your light. It crooned. And I will become unstoppable. Alara looked at the fallen king. She looked at her sisters, fighting desperately against the tide. You want my light, Alara whispered. She didn't shift. She didn't run. She stepped forward. Then take it. She dropped her mental barriers. She didn't fight the darkness. She fed it. She poured every ounce of her celestial power, every drop of truth, every spark of justice directly into the Void Alpha's gaping maw. Your light. So pure. So poisonous. The entity gasped, realizing too late that it had bitten off more than it could swallow. Moon-blessed light wasn't just energy. It was truth. And the Void Alpha was a creature built of lies and corruption. We are the light that banishes darkness, Alara declared, her voice becoming a harmonic chord of all the celestials. We are the truth that destroys lies. And you are nothing, she screamed. And the world went white. A supernova of silver fire erupted from her body. It burned through the Void Alpha from the inside out. The shadows unraveled, screaming as they dissolved. The explosion of light washed over the battlefield. turning the 10,000 hollowed ones into dust in a single heartbeat. Silence fell over the valley. The darkness was gone. Alara collapsed, her energy spent, falling toward the hard stone. But she didn't hit the ground. Strong arms caught her. Kalen, battered and bleeding but alive, cradled her against his chest. "You did it," he rasped, pressing his forehead to hers. "You saved us all." Alara opened her eyes, looking at the moon hanging full and bright above them. "We did it," she corrected weakly. "All of us. Together." The silence that fell over the valley was heavier than the roar of battle. The darkness was gone, burned away by a light so pure it left the air humming with static. The Void Alpha, the ancient terror that had threatened to consume the soul of every wolf, was nothing more than ash on the wind. Alara knelt on the cracked stone of the amphitheater, her crystalline form fading back to human skin. Kalen lay before her, battered and broken from his collision with the void. But as Alara placed her hands on his chest, her light didn't just destroy, it healed. The warmth flowed from her to him, knitting bone and soothing spirit. Until the warlord king opened his eyes and breathed her name, they had won. But winning the war was only the beginning. In the months that followed, the world changed. It didn't happen with the stroke of a pen, but through the sheer, undeniable force of Alara's will. She refused to simply be a queen who sat on a throne while her people suffered in the shadows. She remembered the cold stone of the scullery floor too well. The old Council of Alphas was dismantled. In its place, Alara built a council of equals. The new chamber was circular, ensuring no wolf sat higher than another. For the first time in history, representatives from every designation, Alpha, Beta, Delta, and yes, Omega, sat at the same table. The integration programs began immediately, proving what Alara had always known: strength came in many forms. And as for the Iron Fang Pack, they waited for the fire and fury of the Obsidian King. They waited for Alara to return with an army to burn their home to the ground for the years of torture they had inflicted upon her. But the army never came. Alara didn't destroy them with force. She destroyed them with irrelevance. As the rest of the wolf world moved forward into a new age of unity and prosperity, the Iron Fang Pack clung to their old hatreds, becoming small, isolated, and forgotten, a relic of a cruel past that simply ceased to matter. 1 year later, the winter snows had melted from the high spires of the Obsidian Citadel, replaced by the pale, hopeful light of spring. Alara stood on the balcony of the high tower, the wind catching the silk of her silver gown. She wasn't alone. 3 wolf pups tumbled around her feet, chasing each other's tails with clumsy, joyful yips. They weren't her biological children, nor were they Kalen's. They were war orphans, left behind in the chaos of the battle against the void. Among them was little Hope, an Omega pup who would grow up never knowing the word defective, never knowing the shame of the scullery. Kalen stepped out onto the balcony, wrapping his arms around Alara's waist from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. He watched the pups play, his expression soft. The warlord entirely replaced by the father. "You did it," he murmured against her ear. "You changed everything. We did it," Alara corrected, leaning back into his warmth. "All of us." Together, she looked out over the valley. She saw wolves of all ranks walking the streets together. She saw a world where destiny wasn't a cage, but a choice. "They tried to make me a ghost," Alara said softly, her voice carrying on the wind. "They tried to break the Omega so she would never rise. But they forgot that broken glass cuts the deepest." She turned in Kalen's arms, looking up at the silver moon that watched over them, glowing brighter than it had in 1,000 years. "The Omega they broke became the queen they bowed to," she whispered, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "But I didn't do it for the crown. I didn't do it for the power. I did it for the girl hiding in the kitchen, waiting for someone to tell her she matters." Kalen kissed her forehead, a silent vow of eternal devotion. Above them, the clouds parted. and the moon bathed the citadel in absolute, unwavering silver light. A new age had begun, and that is the story of the moon's broken mirror, from the scullery floor to the throne of stars. Alara's journey proves that your worth is never defined by those who cannot see your light. If this story moved you, if you believe that every underdog deserves their day in the sun, please don't keep this to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done to the Iron Fang pack, mercy or vengeance? Don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow fantasy lovers, and subscribe to Moonfire Tales for more epic romances that set your soul on fire. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a chapter. Until next time, keep howling.